good evening, everyone. How are you doing this evening? We are coming to you live and direct, C.A.R.P.R, Chicago Police Accountability Council. It's a little windy and rainy out there this evening. We had so many days of fabulous weather. I'm glad that you all are joining us this evening. I'm glad that you are coming back to us this evening to watch us this evening. But I just want to say, to start the program off this evening, as you see, I don't have a guest here this evening because we had to have a serious conversation. First of all, I want to give out my condolence to all the families that lost loved ones, that lost their children this past within the last past 2 weeks. We lost a number of small children under the age of 12 years old within the past 2 weeks. It's been a very tragic, violent time that we are facing in the city of Chicago. And so I want to address these issues as a mother and as a community activist for stopping police crimes. For one, I am a mother, and I couldn't even imagine losing a loved one as small as 2-year-old. The other victim, I think, was 11 years old. And it was such a tragedy and such heartfelt that our organization definitely reached out to the families and support the family and support our community, because it's a time of unity and a time for us to be healing together. The death in our community affects all of us. It doesn't just affect one individual in our community. When one family loses, we all lose in our community. Because someone in that community knows their family, grew up with their family, loved the little kids, watching them grow up and everything. So we all lose when our loved one dies in our community. And we are very heartbroken when someone dies in our community. One thing I want to touch on is about tragic death. Tragic death is heart-wrenching. It's a violent death. A violent death, a tragic death is very heart-wrenching. And it breaks your heart, unlike a medical condition. Because dying from a medical condition, it can break your heart. But when you lose your children violently, like we lost children on the street within these past 2 weeks in the city of Chicago, is heart-wrenching. You can't even imagine what a family is going through. And tragic death is so traumatizing to one's psychic and one's spirit. It wonders, like, how do you get over it? How do you get to heal the pain? And it's unlike a medical condition where you kind of expect it, and or a good life where you're 94 and you lived a good life. But for someone to lose their child at a young age like that is very tragic. And so we here at C.A.R.P.R just want to send out our condolences, and our hearts and our spirits are with the family and everything that the family is going through. One thing about a violent death like that in our community is that it raises the question of how much community control we have over our community as parents, as citizens in our community. And experiencing a tragic death like that wrenches our hearts as far as in our community, for the young people and for the older people. It paints us as tyrants, like look at them, look what they're doing, look they killed children, you know, and they paint us as tyrants, and we're painting ourselves as tyrants, because a lot of people say, well, why are black people killing black people, why are so much violence in the community? And you know, it's really easy to sit back and say, well, to point the fingers and say, well, why is this happening to the black race? And why are they so are they tyrants? No, we're not tyrants. No, we're not. We're the founders of this country. We're the people that built this country. And our race always is like the underdog race. It's like, oh, look what they're doing now. They're killing each other. And if you're a person that stays in the community like myself, and you make a well decent amount of money, like not like $35,000 a year, and you living in a decent community and everything, the problem is that we can make $35,000 or $40,000 a year, but if you live in a community that holds back resources, where you have like a mayor, like a Mary Emanuel, that holds back resources from the community, or when you have aldermen that hold back resources like Willie Cochran did from his community, then you incite violence, because our communities that we live in, just to think and imagine the people that got shot this weekend or in the past 2 weekends, just imagine if they had medical facilities around. Just imagine if they didn't close all the trauma centers in the violent neighborhoods, in the high crimes neighborhood. Imagine how many lives will be saved. Imagine, because you don't have to die from a gunshot wound. Not saying that these young people will be alive, because I don't know. But I do know that we're not putting in place things that's going to things that if something happened, we're not prepared for it. Because our children have to travel, or a loved one have to travel so far just to get medical attention. That's good that University of Chicago is opening back up their trauma center after they closed it, because people was experiencing no insurance, and so now they have to open back up their trauma center. That's good. But the city and the south side of Chicago, we had trauma centers all over in the south side of Chicago. St. Bernard, I believe, Jackson Park Hospital. So the other tragedy to this is that how you live in a community, and if someone gets shot in your community, the tragedy is they can't even get medical attention, because the mayor and the government of the state has actually shut down all the trauma centers. I mean, so that, I believe that's the biggest tragedy. It is a tragedy that someone lose their kid. But just to think that you can't, your child has to travel, or your father, or your loved one, or your uncle, or your brother, even if you get shot by Chicago police, you still have to go to Stroger Hospital and Christ Hospital, or if you're a city worker, I don't know, or maybe if you're lucky, you can go to Northwestern Hospital. But these are doctors and nurses that we ask every day to come in to service us 24/7. You had 7 shootings over in Chicago, and all of these people have to go over to Stroger Hospital, or they have to go over to Christ Hospital on the south side. Now, that's not right. Like, that's a trauma in itself, that you have to sit there and watch your loved one die. They don't have good first responders. I don't even know when the last time the ambulance was updated to facilitate a person and to be able to care for a person in a gunshot wound situation. And so we have medical professions here in Chicago that are overserved at the Stroger Hospital and overserved at Christ Hospital, overworked because they have to constantly treat gunshot wounds. And that the city of Chicago, they say they want to stop violence and crimes. Well, start by simply opening up and demanding a trauma center in your community. That is a part of our, I would say, our rights as a citizen to be able to get adequately health care if we're shot. You see so many commercials on TV about being falling down or breaking your leg or something, but you never see a commercial about a kid getting shot and they can't get to the hospital. Like, if you get shot, you want to get to the hospital. But because it's so underfunded, and that's because Mayor Emanuel, that's the first thing he cut when he came in office, was the trauma centers and the medical facilities. These are the facilities that we need. So getting back to say that you said, I feel like I live in a violent community, not because of the gangbangers, it's because I don't have the resources. If something happens, there's no hospital there. There's no food there as far as adequate grocery stores. I mean, there's no adequate schools because the mayor shut down 59 schools in the city of Chicago, and not one black caucus stood up. All the aldermen in the city of Chicago, they vote for Ron Emanuel 100% of the time. Even the 4th Ward alderman that's coming up, they vote 100% of the time. If they're not voting 100% of the time with the mayor, they're voting 93% of the time. There's only one alderman that don't vote with Ron Emanuel, and that's like 42% of the time. So you have a black caucus that's voting with the mayor 100% of the time. What are they voting on? It's clearly that they're not voting on, can you get a hospital in our area? It's clearly not, can you get us affordable housing in our area? It's not the things that we need. It's the things that we don't need, like more policing. We don't need more policing. We need police accountability. We don't need a police board that has a budget of $1 million that we taxpayers have to pay for. Lori Lightfoot, who goes from one board to the next board to the next board. She's picked by Ron Emanuel. We don't need more selected officials. What we need in our communities are resources. We need resources. We need trauma centers. We need medical facilities. We need doctors that are not overworked. If I got shot, I don't know if I want to go to Stroger because this doctor has seen about over 7 or 8 patients because they've been shot. So are they overworked? Are they tired? Do they get tired? Of course, they have to get tired. I mean, humanly, you will have to get tired. If you're a doctor on staff at the Stroger Hospital or Christ Hospital and you work at a trauma center, and the stories are enormous. You have to go there and listen to some of the stories that come out of these hospitals with the staff that's constantly on staff. Just like the teachers got shut down, it's like the medical facilities. Things that we need in our communities are being taken from us. Is it because of a gangbanger that we can't have a medical facility? 59 schools are closed down, which are safe havens in our community. All the schools that's closed down, the property taxes has went down. It has incited more violence. The mayor hasn't came up with a plan saying what he's going to do with the 59 properties that could potentially be safe havens for the youth in our community. So these are the things that C.A.R.P.R will bring about, and want accountability for, real accountability for. And yes, real accountability for when the police lie and when the police shoot someone on the streets. It's not your right or your job. You didn't take an oath to kill someone when you arrest them. When you get arrested, it's your right to go be arrested, go to the police station, be charged, and to see a state's attorney, to be charged from a state's attorney, to go before the judge, and to get judged by 12 or 1 if you want to. So when the police stops that process, then we're here with $620 million of settlement, not from white families, but all paid out to predominantly black families. We are here because we will not take the responsibility of police officers lying on the stage. We are here because police officers continue to lie on the stand. Caller, how are you doing this evening?
Yes. Hello. How you doing?
Yes, how you doing?
All right. First of all, I commend you. You giving out your heart and your soul. That's a wonderful thing. My wife and I, we are listening to you. And the first thing she told me, she said, be nice to you, which I will. I respect everyone. But one part that that's a pet peeve of mine is the schools. All these schools are closed. But listen to me. How can you have a school with a capacity for 3 or 600 children, and there ain't nothing but 100 in there? And that's not in every day. It was hard to keep these schools open. But again, there's many things that CPS could start doing. If you're not going to open them, sell them. It could be homes for low-income people or anything. But again, the most important thing on God's green earth is education. I believe in it totally. The man could take the clothes off your back. He could make you live outside, but he can never, ever take knowledge away from you. That's the key to success. And let me tell you, don't make that you're going to be a rocket scientist, but with that degree, you could still get a little extra more money, and you could still keep a job. But to get to a point now, I don't know, is it the kids or the parents? It seems like it got to a point. You used to see kids going to school, walking all up and down the streets all the time, especially high schools. And you don't see it that much anymore. You don't see the parents going up to the school to see what their children are doing. Again, there's a lot of problems there. Number one, we should have never had politics in education. Politics don't have nothing to do with schooling. We need educators, people who do this for the rest of their life, do for all their life. But again, we got inadequate books in the schools. Hey, they're still reading books from 1940, and this is 2017. We need to just tear it down and start all over, because only thing it's going to do is get worse. So again, let me tell you, young lady, you are a wonderful person, good heart. You're telling the truth. Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth. I could hear by your response of people calling you saying anything. But again, we appreciate you. Keep coming every week, saying what you got to say. If you save one person, God know that you did your job. Let me get out there and hear your
Thank you.
response. And thanks for taking the call.
No problem. Anyone have any calls, please call us at 312-738-1060. I love to hear from you. 312-738-1060. Caller, yes, I would like to respond to that. We have chipped away at our public education. We have allowed the politics to come in and play with our public education. We, I don't know, I think it was the little girl that started in public education. I think her last name was Brown. I'm not for sure. But for her to have to go to school under federal guards to be able to integrate in a public school with other with white children, and now for us to come to this day where states like Gary, Indiana, where the school is dwindling. Like, we are actually have stolen public education and trying to replace it with the charter schools. The charter schools is nothing but a gimmick to get rid of public education. The charter schools and now they on strike. The charter schools siphon money. Every time you send one child to a charter school, that money follows from a public school to a charter school. The federal funds follow that child. So I believe each child is like $10,000. So if you telling me that Bill Gates is the pioneer of this school, and this school is great with all the all the up to date things and everything like that, and so the charter schools actually can't operate unless they have bodies. So if you don't have bodies in the school, then you won't have a charter school. You won't have a Bill Gates University of Chicago charter school. You won't have it. You will still have children enrolled into the neighborhood school. So we have allowed the black aldermen, once again, no black aldermen stood up to try to keep the schools open. They have not stood up to get elected school board. They have not even stood up to get an elected police board. One thing about it is something about the city politician. They don't want the power to belong in the hands of the people. And we, the people in the communities, know what's best. Lori Lightfoot and David Duvall Patrick, and Rita Fry, and these people that's on the police board that come in and make these demands on us. They don't know what's going on in our community. If the feds come, the feds are not coming up north to Ravenswood. They're coming to our community. They're running our community. The business, we can't have a business. We can't have a bank. We can't have a school. We can't have a hospital. Only thing we can have is the police. The police can't feed us. The police can't clothe us. So if we want clothes, we have to buy cheap clothes. If we want food, we have cheap food in our community. Is this a life for us? Visualize that. I'm visualizing it. This is what I live in every day. I mean, I'm not rich, but where's the resources? When you say more police, more police? Okay, but what are they going to be doing? More police, and are they going to constantly be lying on the court when they do their police reports? Are they going to continue to do that? And we're going to get into I don't have that much of a time, but we're going to get into the FOP. Give me a call, 312-738-1060. The FOP contract is up June 30th. 47% of our budget is the FOP. So now we're paying the Chicago police all of our budget, plus the settlements. So, and don't forget the 150 to 200 police gangbanger informants that's on the police payroll. Gangbangers for Chicago police, on the 1st and the 15th, they get paid every month. They have 150 to 200 gangbangers. Now, I don't know if these gangbangers are going around killing people, but they are the informers for the police. So if you're informing for the police, you have to do what they tell you to do. So these are 150 informers on their list. So check it out. They have 100 to 200 informers on their list. So that's a gang right there. So which gang is running things, I have no idea. I don't know if it's the police informant that killed somebody, or is it somebody that killed somebody, because we know for sure that Chicago police, they have a hard time in solving crimes. We should help them in the public when we're trying to solve crimes, but I don't know if it's that their informants are trying to help them solve crimes or what. But we definitely need to look at the informants and the FOP budget that's causing a big rift in Chicago's it's just a part of the Chicago violence in Chicago. So join us Monday, C.A.R.P.R 1325 South Wabash. Every Monday at 6 p.m. we have meetings. Also, we are having a march protest to come up against the Department of Justice. March the 7th in front of the Dearborn Plaza, in front of the Federal Plaza. That will be March the 7th. That will be coming up. Please come out and join us. And like I said, we will be doing tables and signing petitions and signing postcards to send out to the aldermen to let them know that we want community control over our community, not just the police, the hospitals. We want community control. And so that's very important to our community. My heart and C.A.R.P.R heart goes out to all the families that had experienced losses within the last 2 weeks, especially the small ones. So have a great week and think about C.A.R.P.R and join us on Mondays. Bye.